In 2100, you walk into a store and nothing has a meaningful price. Food, medicine, clothes, everyday products. You take what you need and simply walk out. Because machines may produce almost everything we need. And abundant energy could make producing them extraordinarily cheap. But then something much bigger happens. What happens to money when almost nothing needs to be bought? What happens to your job when nobody needs your labor? And if humanity finally defeats scarcity, what becomes valuable when almost everything becomes abundant? To understand a world where physical goods are essentially free, we have to look at how the economics of production have shifted over the past century. For most of human history, value was directly tied to human input. Every physical object required clearing land, extracting minerals, transporting materials, and assembling components through human effort or mechanical toil. Every step added labor, and every unit of labor added cost. By the turn of the 22nd century, that chain of custody has fundamentally transformed. While absolute, instantaneous post-scarcity remains a theoretical impossibility, because physical matter, geography, and energy conversions still require infrastructure. Technological projections indicate that the marginal cost of producing mass physical items has dropped near zero. In automated regional manufacturing hubs, raw material feedstocks, recycled polymers, carbon captured directly from the atmosphere, and refined silicon are fed into advanced multi-axis 3D printers and automated assembly systems. Guided by localized generative intelligence, these systems construct complex tools, medical devices, appliances, and housing components with near zero material waste and virtually no human supervision. The core driver behind this shift is an evolution in energy supply. The gradual commercial maturation of magnetic confinement fusion and advanced solar infrastructure has significantly lowered the cost of electricity. While energy is never truly limitless due to thermodynamic limits and grid maintenance requirements, cheap and abundant clean power changes the economics of matter. Refining titanium, purifying water. When that energy becomes abundant and inexpensive, the cost of material transformation collapses alongside it. A house built from locally synthesized carbon composites, equipped with integrated solar skins and water filtration, can be constructed on-site in a fraction of the time required today. The raw materials cost a negligible fraction of historical prices. The food on the kitchen table, grown in precision vertical bioreactors using AI-optimized nutrient cycles, requires minimal agricultural land and negligible human labor. For the first time, the cost curve of mass physical production has hit the floor. But the moment the marginal cost of physical goods drops towards zero, the traditional mechanics of capitalism begin to fracture. For 200 years, industrial capitalism operated on a simple feedback loop. Humans provided labor, companies paid wages, and wages purchased goods. This loop formed the psychological and structural foundation of modern society. Your job was your identity, your credit rating, and your ticket to social participation. As artificial intelligence and physical robotics achieved broad cognitive and manual parity during the mid-21st century, that loop ruptured. Machines could design, code, build, and heal faster and cheaper than biological humans. Initially, societies attempted to patch the breaking system with universal basic income. Government dispersed funds designed to keep consumption active as human labor was phased out. Economists view UBI as a viable 21st century palliative, But without restructuring property rights and energy allocation, it risks creating a permanent, pacified underclass dependent on automated corporate monopolies. By 2100, traditional wage labor has largely vanished from many sectors. The concept of a career defined by 40 hours a week of mandatory economic output has receded into history. This transition triggers a profound psychological shock. For generations, human self-worth was inextricably tied to economic utility. When the market no longer needs your labor, millions experience what sociologists call the meaning crisis. People do not mourn the loss of tedious labor. They mourn the loss of structural purpose. Without the external pressure of the work week, daily life loses its default rhythm. To prevent widespread societal anomie, governance systems transition toward energy-backed resource allocation and direct access rights, ensuring every citizen is guaranteed a baseline of material abundance. Yet, as physical poverty is engineered out of existence, society runs headfirst into a completely new kind of inequality, one based not on what you can buy, but on what can never be manufactured. Walk through a residential district in 2100, and you will notice something peculiar. While every home is structurally immaculate, furnished with instantly printed comforts and powered by clean energy, real estate values have not vanished. In fact, they have become astronomical. This is the central irony of the post-scarcity economy. While mass-produced matter is cheap, space, time, and uniqueness remain fundamentally bound by physics. Economists in the 22nd century distinguish sharply between reproducible goods and positional goods. A robotic fabricator can print 1 billion identical chairs, making chairs completely free. But it cannot print a cottage on the rugged cliffs of the Oregon coast, nor can it replicate a historic coordinate in downtown Boston. Geographic location, pristine natural environments, and historical landscapes cannot be scaled. They are finite. As a result, a new stratification emerges. The competition for prime geographic real estate, unobstructed horizons, and direct access to untouched wilderness becomes a primary economic driver. Beyond physical space, human attention and biological time emerge as the ultimate currencies. In a world where digital entertainment, synthetic experiences, and automated services are infinite, human-to-human interaction becomes hyper-valuable. Consider the modern artisan, scientist, or educator. In 2100, anyone can prompt an AI to compose a symphonic masterpiece or write a brilliant novel in seconds. Yet human beings continue to value the human friction behind it. We pay attention to human effort precisely because it is inefficient. A hand-carved wooden chair made by a human woodworker carries an immense premium, not because its structural integrity is superior to a printed polymer chair, but because another conscious human spent finite biological hours of their life shaping it. Authentic, unaugmented human presence becomes the ultimate luxury. Thus, society divides not along lines of capital or access to food and shelter, but along lines of experiential authenticity. The post-scarcity world eliminates the struggle for biological survival, only to expose the deeper, more complex struggle for human distinction. With the burden of survival lifted, humanity faces its greatest historical trial. What do we do with an eternity of free time? Early 21st century critics feared that a post-scarcity society would devolve into a state of lethargic apathy, a modern manifestation of the behavioral sink, where humans, having no predators or survival pressures, lose their drive and turn inward toward passive consumption. In some communities during the early decades of the transition, this fear materialized. Infinite access to hyper-realistic virtual realities and instantly generated entertainment media led populations into cycles of profound disengagement. When nothing is hard, nothing feels earned. Yet, human resilience charts a different course by 2100. Society responds by redesigning the architecture of human ambition. Education is completely overhauled. Schools no longer train children to be cogs in an industrial machine or memorization engines for corporate employment. Instead, education becomes an apprenticeship in curiosity. Children are taught how to formulate deep questions, how to collaborate across artistic and scientific disciplines, and how to master the difficult, beautiful friction of physical craftsmanship and empirical discovery. Without the imperative to work for a paycheck, human output explodes in unexpected directions. Scientific research accelerates because researchers are no longer bound by grant writing or commercial viability. Pure mathematics, cosmological exploration, ecological restoration, and deep space habitation become passions pursued for their own sake. Art, philosophy, and athletics undergo a renaissance. People spend years perfecting a single acoustic instrument, climbing unscaled planetary peaks, or restoring degraded ecosystems, not for status or profit, but for the profound psychological satisfaction of overcoming difficulty. Humanity learns that struggle is not merely an economic imposition. It is the prerequisite for psychological growth. For centuries, we defined civilization by its ability to conquer scarcity, to squeeze more calories from the dirt, more power from the coal seam, and more profit from the hour. We built towering global institutions entirely around the management of lack. Step back and look at the year 2100 with clear eyes. The transition to a post-scarcity economy is not the end of human history. It is the end of humanity's adolescence. Capitalism, industrial labor, and the brutal calculus of survival were never the ultimate goals of our species. They were the training wheels. When everything becomes free, we discover that humanity itself was never a resource to be managed. We were the explorers waiting for the journey to begin. The post-scarcity future is neither a naive utopian dream nor a dystopian tech fable. It is a hard-won physical reality made possible by the convergence of energy abundance and intelligent scaling.